Hey guys, it's Alex Burtson again, and I am doing another video about celebrities through spiritual personality type systems. So today I'm going to do Kid Cudi, who is a musician, rapper. He does some of his own production, but he also has a team of people that he works with. He became famous through Kanye West, who first signed him to his own label. But he's highly influential. He's got a very unique music style, um, and his lyrics are very deep, very spiritual, very personal, and about like hard struggles in life and stuff. Um, so I'm going to talk about him through three systems. It's going to be Michael teachings, Vedic astrology, and human design. So first, I will talk about his Michael teachings. And Michael teachings is essentially a, a channel body of knowledge which talks about our soul types and our reincarnational cycle and the different characteristics that we take on for each life. And in Kid Cudi's case, and I'll go into some more detail with all these different characteristics, but he is a king role. He's in the baby soul age, just finishing it up, about to go into the young soul age, but it's also known as the structure focus. And he's got the goal of discrimination. So I'll talk about that and all these different characteristics that are here on this chart right here. So after I do that, I'll go into his Vedic astrology. And Vedic astrology basically is a system that shows your karma, shows you your themes in life, what things you'll struggle with, what benefits you have. It talks about your psychology and your interests and what you're moving towards in this life. Talks about past life credit due to you, what you were doing in past lives and stuff like that. So in his chart, he's got Mars and Saturn in the first house. He's got K2 in the second. He's got Jupiter, Venus, Moon, and Mercury in the third. Sun in the fourth. And Rahu in the eighth. So I'll talk about that once I'm done with Michael teachings. And the last system is human design, which is a map of your aura, the energy in your aura, which energy centers are connected to which ones, and through channels. I won't go into detail on the channels in this one. He only has one channel, but I'll talk about the main characteristics here, which are his type, which is a projector, and his profile, which is the 3-5, which is also known as the martyr heretic, and his cross of the 4 ways. So those are the 3 systems I'll cover. So let's get into it. The first one is Michael teachings. And like I was saying here, here's all the characteristics that he's got. So the first 3 on here are part of his essence. That's the role, essence, twin, and casting. They're like personality type characteristics that he maintains through all of his lives on Earth. He'll have these same characteristics. So his role is a king. His essence twin, which is the soul he's closely bonded with, is an artisan. And his casting, which is more like secondary characteristics that he has, is the type scholar. His focus or soul age is the structure or baby soul age. His goal is discrimination. His attitude is spiritualist. His mode is power. His centering is physical. His obstacle is martyrdom. and his body type is mercurial. So his role, like I said, is the king. Kings seek mastery in everything they do. They want to be very efficient and capable and do a lot of stuff. But they're a cardinal type, which means that they're more focused on addressing groups. So they're usually in high positions. Maybe they're leading companies, or they're in high political positions. But usually they're the one leading everything, and everybody else kind of gravitates around them, and they're the ones that demand things from other people, and they can see the way to efficiently make things happen with working with other people. The positive pole, so there's 2 poles for each characteristic. There's a positive pole and a negative pole. The positive is the higher aspect of it, and negative pole is the lower. So in the higher aspect, he's demonstrating mastery, which is seeking self-control and excellence. In the negative pole is tyranny, where they feel entitled to have their own way and tell others what to do. And other people who are kings are Jesus Christ, Buddha, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump, Steve Jobs, Arnold Schwarzenegger, John F. Kennedy, Ian Curtis, who's the singer of Joy Division, Joe Duplantier, who's the vocalist and guitarist of Gojira, and I forgot to add on here also the Kanye West, which is another video I did earlier. I did a video about him, and he's also a king. So that's his role. That's his main type. It's the same throughout all his lives on Earth. Throughout all his reincarnational lives, it's the same. So the next characteristic, he's got a artisan essence twin. And the essence twin is essentially the soul that you chose to bond with throughout your whole reincarnational cycle. You're always going to be deeply connected with the soul, and you actually take on characteristics of that soul, especially when the essence twin isn't alive. So when they're waiting in between lives on the astral plane, which is when they're discarnate, which is the case for Kid Cudi in this life right now. His essence twin is discarnate, not living right now. So he actually gets some extra characteristics of artisan, which is a very creative type. They seek originality. In the positive pole, they demonstrate creation, which is genuine and effective invention. They come up with new things, and they're very sensitive. They actually have 5 psychic inputs, which is the most of any type. So they can take in information from other sources all at once. They're super sensitive, which is what allows them to create new things, because they're synthesizing so many different things at once. The negative pole is artifice, which is artificial or superficial creation, which is when they could be just copying something that exists and not really creating something new. So that's the negative pole of that. And all these people down here at the bottom are also artisans. It's David Bowie, Eric Clapton, Kurt Cobain, Leonardo DiCaprio, Walt Disney, Robert Downey Jr., Lady Gaga, Michael Jackson, Scarlett Johansson, Daniel Day-Lewis, George Lucas, Marilyn Monroe, Alanis Morissette, Jim Morrison, Brad Pitt, and Vincent Van Gogh. They're all these sensitive types. You can see they're all involved in creative work of some kind. So that's just a typical thing for artisans, is to be involved in something creative. Not always the case, but that's their natural tendency. So that's his essence twin. His casting is scholar, so this is the secondary characteristics that he takes on, which is about seeking knowledge. It's a type that likes to study. They need something to study in depth. So they sift through a lot of information and then try to they assimilate things from their experiences, and then they communicate what they've learned with other people. But they're the neutral type out of all 7 types. So they're the ones that are on the side helping all the other types to basically they provide knowledge, and it's a resource for everybody to relate to. So this, when in your casting, is kind of like the domain that you're focused in. So he's focused on studying things, but this can help him get deep into his music and really study things in depth. The positive pole is knowledge. It's just being truthful, thorough, and integrating. The negative pole is theory, which is being separate from experience, projecting out ideas rather than connecting with it. Some scholars are Ramana Maharshi, who's a spiritual figure from India, Alan Moore, who's the writer of Watchmen and V for Vendetta, Eckhart Tolle, he's also a spiritual figure. He wrote The Power of Now and A New Earth. Albert Einstein, Anthony Hopkins, Thomas Jefferson, William Shakespeare, Daniel Craig, and Daniel Radcliffe. They're all scholars. So this is a secondary characteristic for him. His main thing will be king, and artisan is the next most primary one, and then scholar after that. So those are the 3 main characteristics he has mixed together of those 3 roles. So here is his soul age or focus. This soul age or focus is known as structure, or the baby soul age. It comes after the first one, which is survival, which there's not a ton of people currently on the planet that are in survival. We've moved on past that. There's not too many new souls that are coming in. And the reason that is because we don't know if the planet's going to survive. So to bring in new souls will make things a little bit more problematic. But he's in the structuring focus, which is emphasizing lessons about working with the structure of civilization. In the positive pole, it's formation, where you focus on lessons about community, such as following simple rules and procedures. In the negative pole, it's rigidity, where precepts and rules are followed blindly. But it's just figuring out the right way to do things, and how to integrate with society and be parts of communities and stuff like that. Because in the soul age before that, you were more dealing with maybe like smaller, like tribal kind of societies. They're not like big societies and communities. So yeah, so he's in the level 7 of the structuring focus, which is the final stage. So basically, he's at the point where he's teaching other people what he's learned about the structuring soul age or focus, and he's already gaining some understanding of the next soul age, which is the achievement focus or young soul age, where you're totally focused on worldly success and achievement. So you work really hard to achieve things in the world. It's very externally oriented. So that's what he'll be moving into in the upcoming lives. He'll be moving into the young soul age. Some of these, the names like the infant, baby, young, mature, old, they just indicate different chapters and different lessons that you're going through. It doesn't mean that you're not spiritual, because you can be spiritual at any of these. Although on the mature soul age and old soul age, it becomes a lot more spiritual, because you start going from external focus, which is the first 3 soul ages, into a more inner focused orientation, which is in the relationship or mature soul age that's focused on the inner world and emotions. And in context focus or old soul age, it's more about developing a perspective and understanding based on all your previous experience through your whole cycle. So what happens is we go through all these different soul ages, and it takes typically about 100 to 200 lives to get through all of them. Some of them, some people have more lives because it's the choice of the individual soul of how much experience they want to have. If they want to have a more thorough experience, they'll have more lives. But typically it's 100 to 200 to complete all these different soul ages. And once you get to the end of the old soul age, then you stop incarnating on the planet and you move into the higher planes of existence, and eventually merge into your cadre or entity, which are like bigger like soul groups that you're a part of, and then you ultimately merge with infinite consciousness and take a break for a while, and then you go to a new planet and you choose a new essence type. So his role would be in a future cycle, it would be something different than King, probably. So that's the soul ager focus for him. His goal is discrimination, which emphasizes critical faculties and saying no. So it's building a better discriminatory approach, knowing which things are good things to follow or do, or people to associate with, and then kind of rejecting or saying no to things that aren't helpful. So the opposite of the goal of discrimination is acceptance, which is saying yes, learning to say yes to things, and you have a lot of hard challenges and you have to just say yes, this is how things are. But this is the opposite. It's the one that's saying no. It's focused on saying no to things. So you basically, in the positive pole, it's called sophistication, which is where you've done the work of sifting through perceptions and arriving at a well-developed taste. And the negative pole is prejudice, which is forming an opinion without engaging in intellectually processing the facts. So that's his goal. So the goal is, this is a characteristic, and all the ones I'm going to say after this are characteristics that he chose just for this life. His essence is the king, artisan, and scholar characteristics. Those will be the same through all his lives, but his goal of discrimination is for this life. Same thing with his attitude. This is only for this life. His attitude is spiritualist, which is viewing the world in terms of its possibilities. It's seeing things higher and being very inspired towards what's possible. In the positive pole, it's verification, where you perceive inspirational possibilities and determine the possibility of them being achieved. And in the negative pole, it's this faith, where you just blindly follow an inspiring view without validating it. But, it's a spiritual outlook on things. So that's essentially what that means. So his mode, which is how you release your energy, it's power, which is where you release your energy strongly. Power is aligned with the expression axis. So it's a lot like the sage. So it's when he expresses himself, it just comes with power. So on the positive pole, it's an authority, where you amplify your expression, making you appear knowledgeable and confident. In the negative pole, it's oppression, where you throw your weight around which bears down uncomfortably on others. So it's a very powerful thing. I mean, it's obviously power mode. So this is the strongest mode you can choose from, most palpable. So, and it's very noticeable. They're, yeah, like I said, they're very confident in how they express themselves. So that's his mode. His centering is physical, and there's 4 different centers you can have. It can be physical, moving, emotional, or intellectual. So his main centering is physical, which is bodily excitation. So it's feeling your physicality, what's in your body. It's really led by gut feelings and different sensations in your body, which indicate different things intuitively to you. So in the positive pole, it's you feel alive. You experience your physicality purely without limiting moral judgments. So you just incorporate and accept and feel everything that's coming through you in your physical body and all the different sensations. In the negative pole is stimulated, where you're just you're limited, focus on the localized stimulation of the body that is not integrated with the whole. So that's his centering. It isn't the most common one. It's probably one of the least common. Most people are intellectually centered, it seems, especially in the Western world. So this is a little bit of a different characteristic than the norm, to be physically centered. So that's interesting. His obstacle is martyrdom, where you feel like a martyr, like you do everything for everybody else, and you just feel like a victim. You're just being victimized all the time, taken advantage of. And then you kind of sit in this suffering of feeling like a victim. You also feel unworthy. In the positive pole, it's selflessness, where you suffer needlessly in an attempt to earn worth. And the thing is about the obstacle is it's the thing that you choose in a life that is a challenge. So even the positive pole is kind of a negative characteristic, but it kind of indicates that you would be doing everything for everyone else, trying to earn worth, but you just suffer needlessly. In the negative pole, it's mortification, where you practice extreme self-denial and you suffer low self-esteem. So that's his obstacle. His body type is mercurial, which is a very energetic body type to have. They're good communicators. Physical characteristics are typically dark hair and eyes, and they have compact bodies. The archetype is the perfectionist. In the positive pole, they're intellectually active, perceptive, witty, clever, versatile, have a sunny disposition, and clarity of expression. In the negative pole, they're inconsistent, impulsive, explosive, nervous, jittery, argumentative, sarcastic, cynical, critical, frenetic, wired, and whining. But this is another expression axis type. Lines with the sage. It's a lot like the sage, but it's all about communicating. So that's really big for him, because communication comes across through his platform he's taken it through music. So mercurial really fits for him in that sense. So those are all his characteristics, his main characteristics. He does have secondaries of centering and obstacle and body type, but I didn't go into those. And there's some other characteristics too, like his soul family and stuff, but I'm not going into that much detail because I don't want this video to be too long. But these are the main things to pay attention to. And while looking at this, like to overview, you can see that out of all these characteristics, the most common color here is blue. So there's the light blue and the dark blue, which means that he's mainly focused on the expression axis, which is very creative an expressive type to be. So all these things are aligned with that. That would be his artisan essence twin, his structure focus, his goal of discrimination, power mode, and mercurial body type. But he does have a mix of all the different axes. You know, he's got a good mix too, because he's a king, which is an action-oriented type. Scholar, which is the assimilative type. His attitude is spiritualist. His mode is power. Like I was saying, his centering is physical, and his obstacle is martyrdom. Those are both on the action axis. So he does have a good mix, but the most primary things is his role, king, and his focus, which is structure, which is his soul age, which is a baby soul age, and his goal of discrimination. So you can see he's a very creative and expressive type based on all these characteristics, but he's also a leader as a king. So you can see that too, that the leadership comes through pretty strongly. And he's got some indications of that in his Vedic astrology, which is what I'm going to go into next. So that's his Michael teachings. So here we go with his Vedic astrology now. So like I was saying before, he's got Mars and Saturn in the first house. His Rahu K2 axis is his Rahu's in the 8th and K2's in the 2nd. He's got 4 benefic planets in the 3rd house, which is all about communication. So that's really strong. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. His Sun's in the 4th house. So those are the main placements of his planets in the different houses. But I'll go into detail about his ascendant and talk about his Sun and his Moon as well, and his Rahu K2 axis. So let's get into it. So his ascendant is Libra, which is ruled by Venus, which is about keeping balance and mutuality through conscientious action in relationships. They're conscientious, moral, cooperative, fair, just, agreeable, impartial, and harmonious. So that's what Libra is as his ascendant. He's got Mars in the 1st, like I was saying, which makes him confident, assertive, aggressive, powerful, independent, blunt, and straightforward. He's also brave, courageous, and adventurous. Makes her a powerful leader or commander. He's skilled in computers and technical fields because Mars deals with those areas of things. He easily defeats enemies and competitors. And Mars is very sexual, especially being in the 1st house, because it's on you, yourself. 1st house is yourself. So it makes him very sexual. He may find monogamy difficult, and I don't think he's been married yet. So he's just had different relationships, but nothing consistent. Married life and domestic harmony are spoiled in this position. It's called Kuja Dosha, which is Mars affliction. So that makes marriage a really hard thing, and it seems like he's actually avoided marriage because he finds it difficult. And Mars, creates fighting in relationships. So you don't really want that interfering with your relationships with fighting and stuff, because that usually leads to divorce and stuff. If it's too strong. So that's his Mars in the 1st house. He also has Saturn in the 1st house, which is exalted in Libra. So the benefits of the Saturn in 1st house are increased. So it makes him a leader. He obtains a high status. He's responsible, disciplined, and humble. It makes him spiritual and non-attached to the world. And he experiences tremendous gains in life. So that's all the positive things. It also says that his confidence isn't as that high, but because his Mars is also there, that kind of counteracts it a little bit. He's going to be pretty confident. So he probably overcame some of that, but maybe it's a little bit mixed. He could be confident in some ways and not confident in others. So with the mix of those things. But both Mars and Saturn in the first house are leadership, ruling, commanding kind of things. So he's definitely a leader. So because Libra is in his first house, which is ruled by Venus, and his Venus is in the third house, there's a connection between the first and the third house. So this makes it strongly connected to his brothers and sisters and siblings. It makes him courageous, adventurous. His own efforts meet with success, strong will, perseverance, and strong desires. There's interest in computers and also interest in possible career in music, dance, or drama, which does apply to him because he is doing music. I guess dance could factor into that a little bit. Drama also fits. He's been in movies and stuff. And he was in a documentary recently about his music. So that applies there too. So now we'll talk about his sun. It's in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. It's building a legacy through discipline, patience, and perseverance. It makes him responsible, committed, hardworking, mature, determined, dedicated, and persistent. So that's Capricorn. His sun's in the fourth house. So there's a couple significations in the fourth house. Fourth house is mother and home. Also education, like getting a degree. But the placement of the sun in the fourth house also aspects the 10th house. So there's some career significations there too. So basically this makes him ambitious, fond of power, has leadership tendencies, and may be a boss. His mother could be strong-willed, overbearing, powerful, and successful with the placement of the sun in the fourth house. Says that he'll own a special home, land, and conveyances, may become interested in real estate. That's a possibility. Because sun is will indicate like the main area of life that you'll be focusing on. So it is focused on home in that sense. So that's why it indicates real estate. I'm not sure. I don't really know details for him about his real estate and home life, but there's some indications there because the sun's in the fourth house. Also, I don't know about his education, but it says that he'd obtain a fine degree. But it does give you a successful career, like I was saying, because it's aspecting the 10th house of career. And he'll wield much power towards the end of his life. So that's the sun in the fourth house. The sun's ruling the 11th house because Leo is in his 11th house. And the sun's in the fourth house, so there's 11th connection between 11th house and 4th house. So 11th house is like friends and groups. And also major goals and desires. So his friends and groups bring happiness because 4th house is also happiness. So also he acquires land and homes because 11th house is like gains and it's connected to his home life. He also fulfills major goals and desires with that placement. So that's his sun. We'll talk about his moon now. His moon is in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. This is exploring life and life's purpose through expanding your mind, body, and spirit. They're adventurous, philosophical, open-minded, optimistic, freedom-loving, and purposeful. And I can see the philosophical thing going on. I mean, and like spiritual stuff with him. He's a very spiritual guy. You can tell through his lyrics that's the case. So, and he actually has 4 benefic planets in the third house in Sagittarius. So like I'm saying here, this is just looking at his moon in the third house, but he actually has Venus and Jupiter and Mercury also. I think, yeah, I think it's Mercury in the third house. So all these things are going to be really emphasized a lot. All the third house significations, which is like music, dance, and drama, and singing, and being an actor or singer. Um, all those things are going to be strong. Makes him extremely expressive, filled with energy, adventurous and motivated. He's thrilled to be alive, always busy, running errands and enjoying life. He excels in publications or advertising as well. So you can see that if you look at his third house with all those benefic planets there, he's just very talented in music and stuff, and singing and all that. And that's like the main area of his life. And like I was saying earlier, he has got first ruler in the third, so he's directly connected to this house of music, dance, drama, communications, computer technology, stuff like that, expressive, communicative stuff. So that's his moon there. His moon is actually ruling this 10th house too, because Cancer is in his 10th house, and the moon's in the third. So the 10th house is his career. So it's actually indicating that his career is in music, dance, and drama. It could also be computer technology, advertising, or public relations. Makes him courageous and adventurous and has many short journeys, which makes a lot of sense because he actually travels a lot for his tours and stuff through music. So that's interesting to see. So now I'll talk about his Rahu and Ketu. Rahu and Ketu are the north and south nodes of the moon. They're eclipse points. They're also known as shadow planets because they're not actually visible, but they have a lot of occult significance. Rahu actually indicates what you crave in this life to experience. It's like the head of a body without the body. So it's like it takes in experiences and what it craves more and more. And K2 is the body without the head. So it's everything that's been processed already. It's your body. It's your instinctual self. So his Rahu is in the sign Taurus, and his K2 is opposite that in Scorpio. Rahu and Taurus indicates success in the arts, media, and entertainment, which is true in his case. Makes him disciplined and works towards success. There's immense potential to use ambition to create something beautiful. Connected deeply to both material and spiritual paths, because this placement is actually, I think it's considered exalted. K2 is connected to Scorpio naturally, so it's happy there, and Rahu is also happy in Taurus. So it's actually one of the best placements to have for your Rahu K2 axis. So he's actually really connected to the spiritual path through his K2, which is Scorpio related things, and Taurus, which is more material focused, which is what his Rahu is. So that's why it says he's connected deeply to both material and spiritual paths. You're going to be, with your Rahu K2 axis, you're going to be kind of vacillating between the two ends of things and trying to integrate both sides together. So that's how Rahu and K2 works. So this is interesting. The placement of his Rahu K2 in the houses is actually the opposite of his sign placement. So his Rahu is in the 8th house and his K2 is in the 2nd house. And the 8th house is associated with the 8th sign, which is Scorpio. And the 2nd house is associated with the 2nd sign, which is Taurus. So it's kind of like the same thing as having Rahu in Scorpio and K2 in Taurus, which is the opposite of his actual sign placement. So it kind of means that he's going to have more of the same significations, but it's going to be from the opposite side. So he's going to be juggling those two things again, but the significations are a little bit different. So I'll just read what it says. There's a strong urge to explore the dark reaches of society and dive into the still waters of human knowledge. His karmic path is linked to deep resources of nature and can look beyond the ordinary. He has thirst to experience everything, both good and bad. There's also a strong urge to activate the Kundalini energy. He may also be disconnected from his childhood, because the second house indicates the childhood. So he may have faced rejection, isolation, and have a feeling of being a misfit. So this is interesting though. Like the 8th house is very like deep, very spiritual, metaphysical. It goes very deep into things, and I feel like that fits with him, like with his lyrics, how deep he goes into himself to pull out these feelings and understandings of different things he's experienced. And so he just keeps on diving deep into himself and trying to pull out the nuggets of truth and experience. Um, some of his lyrics are kind of negative. Sometimes, like he's had a song about like suicide, which is pretty dark. But like I was saying, there's to experience everything, both good and bad. So I feel like this really fits with him. It's also associated with research, the 8th house, and things behind the scenes and stuff. So those are other significations for the 8th house, Rahu. It's actually one of the harder placements. 8th house is not easy to deal with. So that's what he's got. That's his Rahu and Ketu. So here's the overall map again. Like I was saying, he's got those 4 planets in the 3rd house. His 3rd house is very dominant because both his 1st house and his 10th house are connected to the 3rd house. So his self is connected to the communication stuff, communicative arts. His career is connected to communicative arts. So that's very important. It just comes across really strongly for him. They're also, those 4 planets are all in the sign Sagittarius, which is a very philosophical and spiritual sign, which explains kind of the quality of his lyrics and stuff that he expresses through the communicative arts that he's involved in, like his music. Another big thing is his Mars and Saturn in the 1st, which really indicates leadership and rulership, stuff like that. But it also indicates harmed marriage life. So there's marital discord. I think he's avoided getting married, probably because he has this Kuja dosha, this Mars affliction. But Saturn also makes it tough for relationships like that too. So I think he's been single for a long time. I'm not sure if he's had a long-term girlfriend or anything like that. So that's a big signification. And then Sun in the 4th house also indicates leadership because it's aspecting the 10th house. So more leadership stuff there. And his Rahu Ketu axis has a focus on both the material and the spiritual, and going very deep into both those aspects of things. So that's his Vedic astrology. Now I'll move on to his human design. So I'm going to look at just 3 things for his human design. I won't go into the channels or the gene keys that he's got, because I want to keep this video fairly short. It's already about 45 minutes. But at least it won't go to an hour and a half like it has been with the other ones. But so his type is projector, his profile is the 3-5 martyr heretic, and his cross is the 4 ways. So the projector is a special type. There's like about 20% of the population has this type. But they're the orchestrators or directors. They're meant to guide and direct others, and wants to see others fulfill their potential. Their aura is very different than the other auras. Like most people are generators, where they have an orb of their energy, their creative energy from their sacral, which is giving them life force energy to complete things. So they're more of the workers. But what projectors are like is they have this special energy that kind of shoots out and connects deeply with other people's energies, which like it says here, is like more of a focused, probing aura, and has a complex way of interacting with people at deep energetic levels. So you get a deep taste of what somebody's like, and that really helps for guiding other people. The projector is supposed to be like this new type that, well, it started arriving in 1781, so they've been around for a couple hundred years now. But they're supposed to be the new leaders because they can see everybody else's potential and they want to help everybody. They're kind of the guides. So their spiritual purpose is to realign the energy of the world and heal the planet. The quantum purpose is to hold the energy temple of what's to come and clear the vibration of the collective consciousness. So other people that are projectors are Kanye West, Big Sean, Cardi B, XXXTentacion, Barack Obama, Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, Steven Spielberg, Heath Ledger, Brad Pitt, Michael Jackson, and Ryan Gosling. So all these people have that kind of orchestrator or director mentality. So they are leaders in a sense, all these people. So that's his type in human design. His profile is the Martyr Heretic, the 3-5. It's also known as the Explorer / Visionary Leader. The role is to witness, endure, or lead from the front in order to educate and guide others. They're capable and adaptable leaders in a crisis. They gain wisdom through failure, trauma, and survival. They're rebels. They want to challenge authority and point out what it is and isn't working. So this is mainly stemming from the Martyr profile line, the 3, which basically is learning through experience. They're experiential learners. So they have a lot of experiences, and it doesn't matter if they're positive or negative. Like, it doesn't matter if things work out or not, because everything that you do is a lesson. So they're just used to going through a lot of things, trial and error, and experiencing a lot of things, so they can grow as much as possible. And then the heretic visionary leader aspect is kind of like this field of like dealing with the projection field from other people, but other people have expectations of them being kind of like a savior in some way, like a leader with the vision. So that's also known as the heretic because sometimes they deal with projection fields that are negative, and they're kind of seen as a heretic. So that's kind of the case there. Other people that have the Martyr Heretic profile are Joaquin Phoenix, Adam Driver, David Bowie, Travis Scott, Jimmy Page, Trent Reznor, which is the guy from 9 Inch Nails, and Mother Teresa. So his cross, which is the main 4 gene keys that working together as one to create a certain kind of life theme. His cross is the 4 ways, which is the gene keys 19, 33, 44, and 34. His life theme is to test all limits of experience in this world and to find an inner stillness for reflection that supports the process of renewal. And sometimes he'll be very outgoing and extroverted, exploring everything and everyone crossing his path. And at other times he'll just sit quietly in deep contemplation of life. The life pattern is moving outward and inward in a cycle while growing and evolving in comprehension and appreciation of life. So you go really far into the outer world, doing a lot of stuff, having a lot of activity, and then you have some times where you pause and kind of reflect on everything. So you just go through the cycle of going outward and inward, outward and inward. And that's basically what the cross is for him. So that's it. He's like I said, he's a projector, which is like a leader, orchestrator, guide. He goes through a lot of trial and error in his experiences as a 3-5 profile, and he also has a lot of outward activity in the world, paired with some moments of reflection and contemplation where he kind of sits back and takes things in. So that's basically what his human design says. And that's everything. So what I would say for him is, there's lots of indications for him of leadership, being an authority in some sense, having powerful expression. Communication is a really big thing because he has 4 benefic planets in the 3rd house in his Vedic astrology. And the leadership comes through his Mars and Saturn being the first, but also the fact that he's a king role in Michael teachings. And also the projector is more of like this guide, director, leader. And the heretic line 5 is also seen as the leader. So leadership is really big. There's some trouble with relationships and marriage because of Mars and Saturn being in the 1st and aspecting the 7th house. So that's basically everything. So, you can see it really makes a lot of sense that he ended up getting into music because his 3rd house is really strong, like I was saying. But he's leading the way through what he does, and he does everything in a very spiritual way, because he's got those 4 planets in Sagittarius. He also has his Rahu in the 8th house, and his K2 is in Scorpio. So he's got that occult, the metaphysical, like deep resources of knowledge and experience that he's connected to, which comes across in his, just the way he approaches everything. He delves really deep into himself to pull out these nuggets of truth and experience that he's been through and the different struggles. Martyrdom is also a theme for him, because that's his obstacle. So he goes through things and feels like he's a martyr. So that's pretty difficult to deal with, but it just feels like things are going against him all the time. But that comes through in his lyrics too. So you can see, he's a very spiritual guy, very involved in the communication, because he's got power mode as his mode, and he has the mercurial body type, which is made for communication. But overall, he's a king. So he's definitely a leader, like I was saying. So that's pretty much everything all together. So I'm going to do some more videos coming up. I have a good backlog of different Michael teachings charts I have, and I also have people's Vedic astrology charts and human design charts. So I'm going to do some more videos coming up. But this was Kid Cudi. I hope you guys enjoyed it. More is to come soon, so stay tuned. Like and subscribe if you like this stuff. The idea for this is, I want to start doing this with clients too. So if there's anybody who's interested in doing this, leave a comment, and maybe I can reach out to you and we can potentially work together, and I can do, a chart for you, like a slide presentation for you, as a possibility. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.